Hi everyone, I see there's quite a few already in. The early birds. Nelly, hi. Hoot, hi, how are you? Mike, Monkey Chops, JT, Mike's Rural Prepping, Lady Fisher 12, quite a few already. I'm guessing and I'm hoping that you can actually hear me and see me. If someone can just say yes or whatever, just to let me know I am actually on. JT, hi. Helen, hi. Somebody say yes. Yes, thank you. Excellent. We'll just give it a second or two. I noticed a few people waiting, so I felt a bit rude not coming on just that minute or so early. Shawnee, hi. Sean, hi. Quite a few coming in now. I've got a couple of notes, so apologies if I glance down now and again at those. I've also got my coffee. Schoolboy error. I boiled the kettle and prepared the actual coffee ingredients, forgot all about it, and then just before I went live I suddenly realised I didn't have my coffee, ran in the kitchen, poured the water, and it's cold. But I rarely get a chance to drink it anyway on these live streams, so I probably won't notice. Anybody else who's popped in without me seeing? Nope, I think I've said hi to everyone. Well, we're over the 8 o'clock, so I'll do the intro bit. Thanks everyone for tuning into the live stream today, and of course for tuning in for the videos whenever I put those up. It is really nice to gradually see the numbers of views on the videos creeping ever upwards. Monkey Chops, did I say hi to you or not? I can't remember. So yeah, thanks for your support with the channel and helping me to gradually, day by day, grow the numbers. Now there's one I've not seen before. Prepper Vet Mitchell in Virginia, American. Hi. Oxygen Farmer, hi. How's your quail doing? I saw one of your videos. If anybody was wondering what I'm talking about, Oxygen Farmer has a YouTube channel and has been rearing from eggs some quail. So if that's of interest to you, pop along and have a look. I'm quite stunned how quickly they've gone from the little egg to what look like quite chunky birds. So well done on doing that. This is a follow-up really from a video that I did at the weekend, which was entitled "So What Would You Do If Someone Came Asking You for Food?" Reason I did that video was as a result of a comment that I'd had, and as the conversation around that comment developed, the question was posed, well, if people come round for food, what would you actually give them? I guess, how much would you give them? So it kind of went from there. And you'll have seen, well, if you're regular viewers, you'll have seen the video at the weekend where I laid out a suggestion for feeding 2 people for a week. And to be fair, in that video, I did actually say, well, the whole subject of giving people food, whether you would or you wouldn't, was a bit of a contentious subject, and I'd address that at some point in a future video. And sure enough, in the comments section, that started a whole debate amongst people about, well, I would, I wouldn't, and so on and so forth. So as a result of that, here we are today on the live stream, which is to talk about exactly that subject. Would you or wouldn't you give food to people? Apologies if I keep looking across. I'm just checking to see if anybody else has come in that I've missed. John Williams, hi. I think I've said it hi to everybody else on there. I did notice already a couple of comments as we were waiting to start. There was already a bit of a discussion forming on the comment section about whether people would or wouldn't give food. So we'll discuss that in the live stream tonight. And I guess as a starting point, because we have to start somewhere, should we vote for numbers? Don't know, Nelly, should we? Let's see how we get on during the video. As a starting point, I guess the first question really is, you're all here because you are prepping, or you're thinking of prepping, or I don't know, some of you might be the world's expert preppers. I'm not. But, you know, the question really is, as a starting point, who are you prepping for if you're a prepper? Now, is that just you and the people that live in your immediate little household? If it is, then that brings out the next question of, well, what about that extended family? Because you will inevitably have somebody somewhere that isn't actually living in your household. And if they're nearby, if they live close to you, then there is a potential that at some point, if something does hit the fan, then they might well come looking to you for a bit of support. For example, asking you for food. So if I use me as a kind of an example for now to talk about this in a little bit more depth, there's just me. I'm alone I am the household. There's only me. But I do have a small extended family. Now, 2 of these live over 100 miles away. So in reality, in a real something hit the fan scenario, it's pretty unlikely that they're going to travel that 100 miles plus to come down knocking on my door asking me for food. Having said that, however, if you thought that you had a similar circumstance and someone did live that distance away, and you were concerned, you might want to think a little bit how possibly you might be able to support them either before the event or during. But bear in mind that if we did have a proper grid down, something hit the fan scenario, chances are it's going to be pretty much impossible for you to travel to them at that distance, and similarly for them to travel to you for that distance. So having said that, I have got other family members. I've got 5 that live within 25-mile radius of my actual house. So there is a potential there, if something did hit the fan, that they might potentially be coming to knock on my door to ask for support or help in some way, shape or form. So that does beg the question to me, and similarly to you, for your extended family, is what would you do? In terms of family, I suppose the next thing and the question that needs to be asked is, well, does anybody know that you're a prepper? Because anybody who does know, similarly, might come asking for help from you. So again, using me as an example, I live in a fairly small town. There's about 18,000 people in this town. It is quite a spread. It's not all 18,000 in one clump. It's kind of spreads out into the adjoining rural area. So none of those know that I'm a prepper. Apart from my immediate family members that I just mentioned earlier, there are really only 2 people that know I'm a prepper. One of those is my neighbour at the land, Gary. Hi, Gary, if you're watching. And the other one is a colleague at work who is also a prepper. And I've mentioned him a few times in my various videos, because he also has a YouTube channel called COVID Hunter. So, hi Lee, if you're watching. So really, the only people outside of my immediate family that know I'm a prepper are those 2 people. Now, at this point, I do have to address the elephant in the room, and I'm just going to have a little look to see if it crops up in the comments. Quail 5 weeks old, Dave. Okay. And Oxygen Farmer says he's had some buffering. Anybody else had that? It's not flickering on my screen. But you are a long way away. It's got to get quite a distance to get to you down under. Nobody's mentioned yet. The elephant in the room, in terms of who knows I'm a prepper, Guess what? It's you. It's YouTube. Yeah, I am on YouTube, and I've got just over 2,000 subscribers now, who clearly know I'm a prepper. And in addition to that, there's probably countless others that might just stumble across the channel as they're scrolling their way through YouTube videos. So potentially, yes, that is a security risk for me, come something hit the fan. And I might find that I get some random YouTube viewers who are coming to try and find me so that they can ask for help, or worse, they're coming to try and find me because they want to pinch all of the things that I've got. So it is a bit of a risk, but given that in a real something hit the fan scenario, again, it's pretty unlikely that they'll be able to travel over quite a significant distance and be able to gradually track me down to wherever I might be, because who knows where I might be. We'll touch on that a little bit later on. It is a pretty slim chance that I'm going to get some random YouTuber come knocking at the door. And it's certainly a risk I'm prepared to take in terms of weighing that up against not doing YouTube, because this gives me an opportunity, by doing what I'm doing now, to get out to an audience, to promote the idea, the concept of prepping, and to try and build that little prepper community, no matter how far away you might be. So yeah, it's something I'm prepared to do. So really, as far as family and the few friends that know I'm a prepper, I'm quite comfortable with that. And they are all a potential source of mutual aid come a something hit the fan scenario, which I'll kind of touch on now. Because whether you buy it or don't buy it, you are going to need some help in a real something hit the fan scenario. And I've mentioned this in a few videos previously. In a proper something hit the fan event, there's an enormous amount of work, jobs, chores that need to be done. And if you're trying to do them on your own, or in a very small, one household group, you're going to find that really difficult, or indeed, I would think you're probably going to find it to be impossible. If you think of all the things that you might need to do, whether that's collecting water, hunting for firewood, tending to the garden, or one of the biggest things that is going to face you, actually providing security for yourself, all of those things are very labor intensive. So the smaller your little group, the more difficult or impossible you're going to find those things are to do. And I can't stress enough the real importance of security come a something hit the fan scenario, because at the end of the day, you will have to sleep at some point. So while you're sleeping, who is looking after you and your little group and your little house or bug out location, whatever it happens to be? So in a real something hit the fan scenario, you are going to need to be in a group. And I'll kind of use myself again as a bit of an example. Modern Refugee, hi. Dog Day Survival's also arrived. I just keep checking now and again to see who's in, and just to see who's talking about what, because generally you're having a little conversation in there. Yeah, so again, using myself as an example, and without going into great personal detail, I've got an extended family group, which is quite small, but would probably extend to, I'd say, a maximum of 12 people. And much will depend on the circumstances of the something hit the fan event, and which of those might or might not want to come together to form a little group. But if we did, as a group, we have potentially 4 houses that we could pick and choose from as to which would be the best for maintaining that group in a something hit the fan scenario. And that's in a variety of either urban or semi-rural locations, in addition, of course, to my piece of land. And within that group, if we did all come together, then we'd have 6 adults that could share the more harder manual tasks, including security duty. 3 of us as adults hold firearms, which would help enormously in our security groups. And all between us, we have a quite wide variety of different skill sets that would be beneficial in a something hit the fan scenario. While that family group is quite small, and they are all at different stages of preparedness. I mean, if I was to be totally honest, some of them, and if they watch this, I'm going to get some flack later, but some of them, they're not really prepared. But realistically, if we all did come together as a group, between us, we'd have the skill set and the resource to work effectively from day one, if we did come together as a group. And the same kind of thing can be said for the few prepper friends that I have already. Even if we're not together as an actual group, we are still separated. So I would have my little group and they would have their little groups. We could still provide mutual assistance for each other's groups if we needed to. So all of that kind of intro scenario brings me back around to that very first question that we asked about if somebody did come asking for food, then would I give it or not? So to answer that question, it's going to depend, of course, on what the actual event is. I mean, if it was a small-scale, localised event, and we were fairly sure, or I was fairly sure, that that was going to be rapidly resolved, and by rapidly, I don't mean tomorrow. I mean a few weeks, a few months. But we knew generally that that event was going to resolve itself, and we were going to go back to some kind of normality, business as usual, within a short period of time. Then yes, I would. I would give out food and supplies without any real conditions to those people, my immediate family members and perhaps prepping friends. However, if it was a large-scale event and nobody could really predict for sure how long this was going to go on for, and we expected it to be quite considerable in duration, then I wouldn't give out food unless there was conditions attached. Because really, in that kind of scenario, I would be reaching out to people anyway with a view to forming that group and deciding as the group where we would be going to. I mean, I might have localised flooding in my area, but one of my other family members, although they're only 25 miles away, there's quite a difference in topography of the land. They might be completely unaffected, so I might go there, or vice versa. It depends on the nature of the scenario. But yeah, if it was a more significant event, then I wouldn't be looking to give people handouts. I would be looking to bringing people together to form a cohesive group, and then that group pooling whatever resource they had, be it food, supplies, housing, whatever. And that way we'd have the best possible advantage of getting through whatever it was that had happened with the least pain possible. It is kind of a harsh reality, really, that in any something hit the fan event, whether it is localised or it is regional, national, or whatever, after a period of time, people are going to come knocking at the door, just random people. Or worse, you're going to get groups of people who are deliberately going door to door to empty the houses and take whatever it is they want. You see that quite a lot with civil unrest. Whether it's a protest march gone wrong and it turns to looting the shops in the high street, or whether it's on a bigger scale, there's been some kind of, I don't know, New Orleans style disaster. It doesn't take long for groups of people to suddenly go out and start looting and taking from others in that area. So it is reality that at some point somebody could come knocking at your door, and you're going to have to say no at some point. Now, when you do end up saying no, at best that could end up in somebody in tears or a few harsh words, but at worst that could end up in you being attacked, which is kind of a couple of comments we've already had on the previous video. They were immediately latching onto that reality. So when thinking about that, there's a few basic questions that you should be asking yourself. I've alluded to some of these already. First question is, what you're doing. Are you staying at home or are you going somewhere else? If you are staying home, then can you defend that home? Realistically, can you? I know that our American cousins, and I think our Australian cousins as well, you have to correct me if I'm wrong, Oxygen Farmer, you have fairly liberal gun laws. Well, the Americans certainly do. So the majority of homes probably have firearms. That's not the case in the UK. Firearms are extremely difficult to get hold of in the UK, well, legally. So can you realistically defend your home against 1, 2, 10 different people? You really need to think about it as a way of deciding, are you staying at home or are you looking for somewhere else to go? If you are looking for somewhere else to go and you are bugging out, where are you going and what resources do you have there waiting for you? Australians apparently don't have quite liberal gun laws. Join the club. Welcome to my world. So it's only our American cousins that are sitting back chuckling and laughing to themselves now, thinking, look at all these guns I've got. I shouldn't really be saying that on a YouTube video, should I? I'll get strikes. So yeah, if you are bugging out, where are you going to? What resources do you have there? Are you going alone? Are you going as part of a group? I can't emphasize really enough that you should be thinking about groups of people, even if it's a small family group, because 1 or 2 people are going to really struggle to get through a proper grid down, something at the fan scenario. So if you are forming a group, going back to what I said earlier about conditions attached to me sharing my food stocks, are those other group members bringing to the party? Are they bringing food, supplies, skill sets, vehicles, a house perhaps, or a piece of land? What are they bringing to the party? Because everybody should bring something. Have you got all of the resources that you will need to function as a group? How long realistically could you get through a significant something at the fan scenario with the resources you have before they run out? And inevitably they will. If the event is big enough in scale, then you're talking several months, even longer, to realistically get back to business as usual, during which time you have to survive. So have you got enough supplies now to do that? And if you don't, then what are you going to do then? Are you going to grow your own food, rear your own animals, go scavenging, hunting? What are you going to do to replenish your stores? And that brings us back again to square one, because at some point it could be you that's knocking on somebody's door asking for food if you haven't planned ahead and prepared. So it's a bit of a long-winded intro into the video, but I am interested to know what your thoughts are. I've not been able to go through the comments, so if you have already commented or raised a question connected with that, then please do feel free to pop it back in the comments section, and I'll do whatever I can to answer. But let me know, what do you think? Does what I'm saying make sense? Is it chiming with what your idea of the answer to the question, would you give food or not, is? Or will you just carte blanche turn everybody, including your mum, away from the door if they came asking for food? It's your chance to let us and the world know. I'll have a quick look through the comments. Got a couple of crowbars for unexpected pallets arriving. Don't know what you mean by that, Lady Fisher. Is a part of a conversation. Catapults. Paul's talking about the price of shotgun cartridges. Lots of people seem to be talking about That thing we shouldn't be talking about on YouTube. Hunt and fish, Lady Fisher, and again, forage and wild can't even say it. Wild edibles. I have touched on that in a few previous videos, hunting, fishing, scavenging. There is a reality, and America and probably most other countries actually discovered this in the 30s when they had the Great Depression. Hoot has just sent $10 super chat. Thank you very much, Hoot, who says, I've got another rain barrel. I have got another rain barrel, but that bloody connector hasn't arrived yet. So I'm hoping it does before the weekend, because I will need to get the two connected together as soon as I can. Because now that the ice has stopped, I hope it's stopped anyway, we've got the rain back, and I want to get those barrels filled up as soon as I can. So yeah, thanks for that, Hoot. Much appreciated. Modern Refugee says everything's case by case. It is. But I would be erring along the sides of family and very close friends in exchange for something. And normally I would kind of err towards getting them as part of a group. So if you're going to invite people in your group, you need to kind of pre-vet them almost. You need to know who they are, what they're up to, and what their thoughts are before you invite them, really. So if you haven't started thinking about who you would have with you, I would suggest you take a look at that and have a think about it now, because it's hard to assemble a group in a hurry and it would be very easy to make a mistake if somebody suddenly volunteers and says, oh, I'm a mechanic and you might need a mechanic, so I'll come along. That's great, they're a mechanic, but what else might they be? And how good a mechanic are they? You have no idea, you're taking it on face value. So a little bit of planning and preparation. I kind of got distracted there. I was on the subject of shooting, fishing and foraging for food. Yeah, in the Great Depression, very quickly, within the space of a year, the wildlife just ceased to exist. Everybody went out looking for food and shot or fished everything that was there. And it took a long, long time for the population of those different animals that were being hunted to come back again. Exactly the same would happen again if there was a serious something at the fan scenario. Everybody will have the same idea of, oh, I know what I'll do. I'll just go out and hunt rabbits, squirrels, whatever, ducks. Everybody will be doing that. And it won't take long for there to be no rabbits, squirrels and ducks left. So I would not go down that route as that is my plan for survival, because you're going to get disappointed. COVID Hunter, hi. I didn't see you suddenly sneak in there. COVID Hunter did his first live stream at the weekend, Sunday night, I think it was. Well done on that, mate. Went very well. So look forward to seeing you pop up on live streams from time to time. Anybody is interested in shooting and butchering of wild food, pop along and take a look. He's got loads of videos on there. Paul says he needs to play poker with Hoot. That's something, Stefan. JT to send a super chat, hit the star sign. JT's promoting super chats. No obligation. Thumbs up will be very appreciated, though. I don't know how many we've got. Oh, we've only got 16 thumbs up. Come on, guys, give me a thumbs up to just help me fight the YouTube algorithm and hopefully push the video rankings up for my channel. Thanks for the shout out. You're welcome, mate. Dog day survival. People would need to be desperate to approach me and the dogs. So I would feed them. Would you feed them, or would you feed them to the dogs? I think today will be a bit longer. I'm missing half the conversations here. I'm just picking up the odd ones, so I don't know what it is that you're chatting about. Peanut butter on rat traps. Do you know, Lady Fisher, it's funny you should say that, but since COVID is in the chat, we were actually talking about that today. How bizarre is that? That was about catching squirrels and fastening rat traps to trees. I hope none of you are anti-wild food. Modern refugee, we've got agreements with the neighbours, we'll be considerate in an event. None of my neighbours actually know I'm a prepper, but I make a point of knowing exactly who it is that lives in all of the houses that are, well, within immediate striking distance. So I can tell you within probably about 100 metres, I can tell you how many people live in those houses, what cars they drive, whether they work or don't work, and if they do work, what time roughly they go and come back. Not that I'm a nosy neighbour, I just like to know who's around me. I know how many adults and children, roughly, there are. The children bit is dead easy. None is the answer. Lots of dogs, though. I think I must be in the dog-loving part of the neighbourhood. But it is worth knowing who and what is around you and what their normal movements are. And then if you see something that's not normal, that should start ringing alarm bells. So, you know, car turns up at midnight and you know that your neighbours are all normally in bed at midnight, then that should put you on the alert that there's something out of the ordinary. But yeah, I do make a point of knowing the immediate neighbours, and I always make a point of saying hi to the immediate neighbours. In fact, the one this direction gets a Christmas card every year because they are the very first neighbour. And if there's parcels coming, they'll take them for me and I'll take them for them. So, yeah. But would I not be here for something at the fan event? Short-term, temporary, very localised, yes, I would. Anything significant and potentially long-term, then no, I wouldn't. I would be bailing out either to the home of another person within my little group, or more likely down to the cabin. Just looking to see, Buxton Farmer, pro wild foods. I would hunt anything to survive. Eddie Fisher. At some point, it would actually come to that in a proper true grid down, because there wouldn't be any shops. What would be the plan if you ran out of preps and the wildlife resource had been depleted? Question for everybody. You're absolutely right, COVID, my mate, because the plan should be, as I'm already, if you're regular viewers, you'll know, I'm trying to get the self-sufficiency garden up and running. I've had a year now of experimenting to try and find out what works and what doesn't. But the objective this year is to have a real attempt at getting sufficient to go through the year out of my garden. Hence planting seeds in January, which might or might not work. But next on the agenda, I've mentioned this in the previous videos as well, is chickens, so that you can actually start producing your own meat, and in the case of chickens, eggs as well. And hopefully, if my mate comes through, some bees around about April time, both to help with the garden for pollination and also as a source of honey. So yeah, people should be thinking about what happens when their stored food runs out. And all right, you can go hunting, but as I've said, that will eventually be depleted because everybody will be doing it. So rearing your own is the logical answer to that. There are other ways of scavenging without actually going door to door. But I'll leave that for this video. I won't go into that because that could be a bit contentious as well. You have to know how to grow your own food. Yes, Steve, you do. Seeds, yep, absolutely, because the garden is going to have to be grown. There is a bit of a thing floating around on YouTube right now, and some people say that it's a genuine issue. Other people kind of poo-poo it and say no, it's not. But somebody has, well, more than one person, has been saying that there seems to be a shortage of seeds this year. Now, these were American channels rather than UK channels, so I don't know whether it's a localized issue in the States. Maybe some of the American cousins on here can let us know. I've not seen any issues in the UK, though having said that, I've already got my seeds. So apart from some Swede seeds, which I actually did order, and they've turned up. So does anybody know? Has anybody else seen these sort of scare stories on the internet about seed shortages? If you have, let us know in your comments here. Had chickens found they're the first thing that gets attacked because... Sorry, I'll have to read that again. Had chickens and I found they are the first thing that gets attacked because you can hear them. I guess that depends on how good your security it is around your house or your piece of land. I'm not too worried, to be fair, about home security. I would be eventually here in this house if it was a proper grid down and, you know, Mad Max kind of scenario with rampaging hordes going door to door, because you can only do that so many times before you get overrun if the numbers are big enough. But on my field, I wouldn't have those issues. I wouldn't be worried at all. The biggest thing I'd be worried about there with my chickens on the field is foxes during the night. But in a proper grid down, you'd have somebody out on night duty anyway. So again, it shouldn't really be an issue. But yeah, if you were leaving them in a chicken coop away from where you live and, you know, there was no person there to protect them, then yeah, I can imagine that they would quickly disappear in a something hit the fan scenario, because everybody would be looking for meat and eggs. It's winter and my tomatoes are growing like crazy, JT says. But I seem to recall you're in a fairly warm state in the United States. Correct me if I'm wrong. Here, it's been -3, 4, 5. We've had snow on a number of days, and for the last couple it's been chucking it down again with rain. I did, in all honesty, I called in at the cabin. What day are we on today? It's Wednesday. Yesterday I called in, and I couldn't resist. I had to just lift the cover up and then open the tray to have a look. I knew in reality that I'm not going to see any shoots coming, but I just wanted to look. It was 5 degrees inside the garden room then, and it was 10 degrees inside the cabin. And that was about 5:10 in the afternoon. But nighttime, it is getting very cold. And as I say, we've had -3s, 4s, 5s regularly for up to a week at the time. So a couple of people, Ramon Refugee says he's heard stories, but in Michigan seeds are available. Lady Fisher says, yep, seen stories, but not experienced it yet. Auction Farmer, plenty of seeds available. So, yeah, it might just be one of those vicious rumours designed to get hits on their channel. I don't know. Clickbait, they call it, don't they? Hoots has seen the stories, don't know if it's propaganda or real. Paul, Turkish shoot on a field, no issue. Yeah, you're right. I'm not worried about defending my cabin and my land, in all honesty. Any bird will be welcome for dinner. We've got quite a few that myself and COVID sample from time to time, generally pheasant, pigeon, and more recently pink-feet goose or pink-foot goose. They're probably as small as you can go. I suppose quail, sorry, oxygen farmer, quail, anything below that, you're going to need like a basket full to get any real meat out of. But meat is meat, and protein is protein at the end of the day in a something hit the fan scenario. And somebody did already say it, pretty much anything is fair game. JT says heirloom seeds are getting cleared out. I think that's probably down to people panicking and panic buying, like the old toilet roll issue last year. I just wondered if it was a widespread thing or not. Paul's got loads of rotting seed potatoes in storage this year. I'm actually, I don't know if you're buying seed potatoes, Paul, or if they're potatoes that you've kept yourself. But if you go to the supermarket now, I've noticed the last probably 3 times that because I only buy small bags of potatoes, but every one of those bags within a period of 3 days, they're starting to put out chits. So if you're wanting to be planting potatoes, just pop into Tesco's or whichever shop it is you use, and within a week you'll have some seed potatoes, and pop them in, because I've popped 2 lots in now. I don't think they'll be sprouting in the next week or 2, but they're fairly hardy potatoes, and I would have think that they are going to start coming up fairly shortly. The only thing I do have to be careful of is whether or not the foliage would actually get frost damage in that garden room. I'm not really sure, but I think if they do put out shoots and start growing, I'll just mound them up and I'll put some plastic or fleece over the top to be on the safe side. But 1 or 2 quail per person is a meal, I'm sure it is. Nelly says it's ultra buffering. Is anybody else getting buffering? It's maybe all this talk about shooting things. We might be getting kicked out. Grey squirrel is good meat. It is, and I've cooked that. If you've seen my previous videos, it is tasty and it's fairly easy to cook. It's like chicken, really, to cook. Real seeds are not out until February. Lady Fisher, I've had good results from food shop potatoes in pots. That's all I've done when I've grown potatoes all the way through last year. Every one of those has come out of a packet that I bought in a supermarket. So I can't fault them, really. And what did surprise me, because you hear the talk about genetically modified stuff, all different kinds of plants, I was really surprised when they produced potato berries. So it's going to be interesting to see if I plant those potato berry seeds, whether I do get plants, and if those plants do produce tubers. I'm really quite looking forward to that, as ridiculous as it sounds, because why go to the trouble if you can just get a potato from a bag from the supermarket and plant it and grow some potatoes? Why mess about with the seeds? Because in a proper grid down, you aren't going to have potatoes in a bag from a supermarket to plant. You're going to have to go back to the original way of getting the seeds from the potato plant, to grow, to create a tuber, and to then plant that tuber. So I am interested to see what happens with that this year. And as are a couple of subscribers who have got potato seeds. So nobody's commented on that actually, as to, I think, well, maybe one did, about planting in March. We do need to figure out when we're going to plant these, so we can all see how we progress with them. So do let me know in the comments when you are going to plant those. And if anybody does want any of these true potato seeds, there is still chance. Just drop me a line and I'll, don't all do it, because I haven't got enough seeds for that. But if a couple of you do want to try, then let me know and I'll send some true potato seeds. Felix K, hi and welcome. Can't say that I've noticed you before. I'm guessing this is first time in the live stream. Predictions for 2021. There's a video on predictions for 2021 which was put out in 2020. Scroll back and have a little look for that. But in a nutshell, yeah, COVID's around for a while yet. But the big news really is the economic impact that is yet to come. And I'm guessing, I don't know what the tax year is in the US, but for us here in the UK, it runs April to April. And we have a government budget in April, which sets the scene for that tax year. My main prediction really is that we're heading towards another bout of austerity, similar to what we had after the housing crash, 2008, 2009, but bigger, I think. I hope I am wrong, but I see some pretty hard times ahead economically. Paul says he shot and ate a rattlesnake, but fed most of it to my mother-in-law. I'll not go there with mother-in-laws. What else we got in here? Sea potatoes too pricey. Buy some from the supermarket. Honestly, I've had really good results. Leslie says, I save potatoes from one year to the next, wrap them in newspaper, store in a bag. I'm hoping that I can do that this year. I didn't last year because I ate them all. And they were very nice. But yes, as part of this trying to grow enough this year to last me through, you might remember in a video I did recently, I did talk about storage. Yes, I want to grow so that I can eat all the way through the year with succession cropping. But part of the experiment is what happens after I lift my last potatoes, which this year, or should I say 2020, was 12th, 13th of December, I think, I lifted the last barrel. They disappeared within 10 days, I'm guessing. So how do you get from all the way through the rest of December into January, February, before realistically March, April is the earliest I would have thought you could possibly be harvesting potatoes, and that's storage. So that is something that I do need to look at this year. Hoot, Dave, did you send me some seeds? No, I need your address to do that. So you'll have to send me your address. You will allow red squirrel to thrive. Well, you're talking about COVID's talked about squirrels still. Here in the UK, we have red and grey, and I'm guessing he's telling somebody that the reason we're hunting grey squirrels is to save the red squirrels, which are the native species. I didn't see your comments. Apologies. It's difficult to try and track them all, but I'm guessing that's what you're talking about. What else we got? Sweet potatoes. Ladyfish is going to try sweet potatoes. I'm not sure I could grow sweet potatoes in the UK climate. If anybody in the UK has experience of growing them here, do let me know, because I do like a lot sweet potatoes. But I've not come across anybody that grows them in the UK, outside anyway. They might well grow them in a polytunnel or greenhouse, but I thought we did need a bit warmer temperatures for that. So yeah, tell me if you've had a success of growing those in the UK, because I would be interested. And if you have, I'd be tempted to put some in myself this year. Oh, Lady Fisher does use shop potatoes. When potato berries are in season, they would be eaten by birds. Oh, right, okay. I'm seeing what you say. I was just going to throw in there very quickly that you can't eat potato berries. You can't eat potato berries. But you talk about birds eating them. It's amazing how many seeds there are in those potato berries. We're talking about thousands. There are lots. And I am keen to try them this year. JT's talking about buying seeds. 4 packs of seeds for $1. That's mega cheap. Even seeds in your cheap sort of discount supermarkets here, the cheapest you get them really is £1, which is $1.35, 36. So 4 packs for $1, that's bargain price. Buy some and send some here. Jerusalem artichoke. Yes, there is a video, Lady Fisher, if you scroll back. To be honest, I got them as a gift from my neighbour on the field, Gary. He grows them continuously. He grows them every year. I'd never grown them, wanted to try them. So he gave me some tubers, and I planted those out in a potato barrel. And we did have a really difficult year last year with the weather. We had mega drought for quite a long time, and then we had mega rain for quite a long time. And that didn't help them, I don't think. So I only got a very small crop, but I did cook them because I've never eaten them before. And there is a video if you scroll back. Is it fair to say they're an acquired taste? They taste like potato, perhaps a little bit of a bitter potato. And I actually boiled mine like you do with potatoes, and they were very, very mushy, so that wasn't great. But I am told that you have better results if you roast them in the oven. So give it a go. Give everything a go to find out what works and what doesn't, and what you like and what you don't like. That's essentially what I've been doing for a year now, to see what works. UK will have to grow sweet potatoes in pots first to get them finished. Okay. If you think they'll work in pots, outside in pots, that is, I might be tempted to give them a go. I just thought they needed a bit warmer temperature than we get here. Apologies, I'm watching it scroll. I'm having difficulty reading the comments before they disappear off the screen. We're about comfort and well-being in the cabin. And I don't mean feng shui. Comfort and well-being. The only issue really I have, which I am discovering now, is the temperature drop when it gets into the minus figures. Were I there all the time, I don't think it would be an issue because the heat would be on all the time. At the moment, it's not kitted out like a house would be, because for all the planning inspectors that might be listening, it's not a house, it's not a residential building, it's a garden stroke agricultural building. Yeah, there's nothing in there right now in terms of, you know, comfy chairs. There is, you've seen the chair on the videos I do in the cabin. As we get into next year, it will be a bit more creature comfort because the construction stuff will have finished by then. I'll have, well, I'm hoping I will. I'll have completed the chicken coop, which is the next big construction project, and probably the last big construction project. And then instead of using it, the whole of the cabin as a kind of storage dump, which it has been for the last year, I can start to tidy that up and make it a bit more creature comfort like. So watch this space, I guess. What else we got? Everybody's talking about potato supermarkets and how to grow those. Modern refugee red and russet potatoes grow best for me. Felix is talking about potato berries and people eating them. Don't do that because they are poisonous. Well, toxic, shall we say. Homestead Australia, pots inside, then transplant outside. Okay. What temperatures are those? Because you're in Australia, aren't you? I think your summers are considerably bit warmer than our summers. I'll tell you what, I'll do you all a deal. I will make a point of getting some sweet potatoes and I'll stick some in a barrel and we'll see how we get on with those in the balmy UK summer that we have this year. Sorry if English isn't good, I'm German. Wie geht's? Your English is perfectly fine. Thank you, vielen Dank. All right, Homestead Australia, looking for your stream later. Can you imagine the size of compost heap next year when B&Q takes a downturn? Not quite sure. I must have missed something there, Paul. I don't quite get that. Modern Refugees going. Thanks for your time today. Modern Refugee, have a great evening. And thanks for coming. We're still talking about potato berries. Yes, JT, they are definitely poisonous, toxic. And don't eat potato berries. And if you are collecting the seeds, make sure you wash your hands afterwards. I'll just take a look at the time. We are rapidly approaching 9 o'clock, the 1 hour mark. So if anybody has got any last minute questions to ask, please do dive in, whether it's the topic of today and whether you would or you wouldn't give food away, and if you would, how much and to who, or if it's any subject. We've kind of diverged off into quite a variety of different things. So please do feel free to throw them in now before I start winding up. 1 kilo of spaghetti for 23 pence at Tesco. Tesco and Aldi for rice, and whether it's the penne pasta that you saw in my food video or whether it's spaghetti, really, really cheap, really cheap. And if you think about all of the different things that you can do with just those 3 ingredients, it is still possible to get in a substantial number of months worth of food relatively cheap, or at least the staple items are the rice, the pasta, spaghetti, beans, dried beans. The difficulty really, well, it isn't a difficulty. The more expensive bit is the other ingredients that you would need to go with your beans, your pasta, your rice, or your spaghetti. While the sauces are cheap, anything that has meat in it in a can isn't cheap. So yeah, you need to hunt around a little bit and be a bit creative with the meat element of those prepper pantry style meals that you might be making. They're in the nightshade. We're still talking about potato berries. They're in the nightshade family, just like tomatoes. Yeah. Whatever you do, do not eat potato berries. They're related. Potato and tomato plants are in the same family, which is why I guess the potato berries do look like green tomatoes. But no, don't. Everyone's interested in this now for some reason. So if anybody, apart from Hoot, does want some seeds, last chance before we start planting. I will send some out if you get your address to me. Just reach out to me. If you look back through the videos, you'll find email address there to get in touch. Or if not, leave me a comment on this video. Pasta 33p in Tesco. Passata 33p in Tesco. That's the sauce, the tomato sauce, yeah? There's cartons. I'm presuming you're talking about those little cube-shaped cartons. And they are 30 odd pence, which is great to go with your pasta, but I do like meat. So I would have to have some meat in there, or maybe I'd get one of COVID squirrels and make some squirrel bolognese. Okay then, guys. We are past the 9 o'clock, the 1 hour mark. It is a work day for me in the morning. Those of you who've been on live stream before know that I need to completely rearrange my living room again after a live stream to put the computer back where it goes. So I am going to have to wind up for today. It's been a pleasure having you all on again on another live chat. I really do appreciate you taking the time out of your day to come visit, as I do for all the videos that I put up as well. And equally, I appreciate all of your comments. So we've got nothing else leaping out at me from there. So with that, I'll sign off. Wherever you are, please do stay safe. Enjoy the rest of your day. And I look forward to seeing you again in my next video and again in my next live stream. Thanks again for coming today. See you later.